Charlie Spademan transforms fire, steel, and other materials to create unique artworks that are bold, dynamic, and unforgettable. If you enjoyed today's show, give it a like, subscribe to my channel, and share the link with your friends. And now, today's episode of Allan Gorman's 15 Minutes of Fame Art TV Show.
My 15 minutes of fame, I want it, my 15 minutes of fame, I want it, my 15 minutes.
So I first became aware of Charlie Spademan's work when I saw a entrance to a hair salon, a high-end hair salon, and what there was a lot of filigreed bronze scroll work. I think it was bronze, but and embedded in the scroll work with the vines were scissors and combs and tools of the trade for a beauty salon. And it was so intriguing and so well done that I just fell in love with it. It was so unusual for signage or decoration for a building. That was about 10 years ago, I would say. And I've been following Charlie, and today we're going to learn about what he does and who he does it for and who he does it with, and his process and his background. So Charlie Spademan. Hi, Charlie.
Hey, Alan. I wasn't aware that you were aware of me for as long as you have been. I think it's probably 15 years since I worked on that. That was the real first art project that I've worked on. Was a call for artists run by the Montclair Arts Council to do entrance artwork. I knew that I had the skills to make this thing, and pitched the idea of the artwork actually being the entrance hardware. I was really rolling the dice. I had no expectation, particularly with no professional artist resume that I'd even be looked at. That really got me started. The reputation, I had that as an example, to start my resume with, and it's something I can point to and still do.
Certainly a nice way to get your feet wet.
Yeah.
And it endures today. It's just pretty good. So let's. I do this all the time, but I want to get to know you. So you grew up in Cleveland?
No, I grew up in Detroit, one of the north suburbs.
Okay.
Yeah.
So land of steel, right?
Well, actually, one of my fondest memories is going to the River Rouge stamping plant. Actually, it wasn't even the stamping plant. They made the steel there. You could watch them pour it and roll it. And I think I was in Cub Scouts, and I got a tour of the whole place. And basically, raw steel went in one end and cars came out the other, all in one facility, which was pretty amazing. Anyway, I've always been exposed to art. My parents were very much involved in the arts. My parents took us to museums frequently, the Detroit Institute of Art. So I've always been appreciative of art and exposed to it.
Were you exposed to Diego Rivera's mural?
That big mural, yeah. I think of it frequently.
Yeah.
And it always amazes me that it's in the Detroit Museum of Art. I don't know why that is, but
well, he wasn't allowed to do it in Rockefeller Center.
Yeah. Detroit Institute of Art. I'm remembering it as so.
Right.
I went to 3 different high schools. I went to high school, 2 high schools in Michigan, and finished up high school in Toledo, Ohio. I wanted to go to art school. That's what I should do. It's what I wanted to do. My mother was very supportive of my father, not so much. I went to the Cleveland Institute of Art. It means I was in the years between 74 and 78, and the music scene there in particular was really very vibrant. I saw a lot of bands, lot of interesting people associated. Well, art school. There are always interesting people at art school. But I moved to the Lower East Side of Manhattan mid-year 1978, maybe the fall of 1978, and it seemed like the whole scene in Cleveland moved at the same time.
So it was the dawn of punk, right?
New wave and no wave, and it was a very exciting time to be there.
How'd you develop a fascination with ironwork, engineered stuff, and how'd you wind up doing what you're doing?
It's a good question. I think I love fire. I've always loved fire. I've loved my father in the basement had an old anvil that had, or an old vise that had an anvil on the back side of it, and a propane torch. And I used to like to heat up nails and hammer them because you could flatten them out in different shapes. And always enjoyed making things. I'm going to digress a little bit. I had said that I'd gone to 3 different high schools. The second high school I went to, there was a course called Advanced Fabrication. It's basically a jewelry making course.
That's sculpture?
Well, it's essentially sculpture. I mean, jewelry is small sculpture. The thing that it really taught me was about perfection, and that, to really look, and there's nothing made that's perfect. It's always something to strive for, but I mean, it sounds very simplistic as I'm relating it, but it really was probably the most important course that I took of any kind in high school. Just that it really made me look at things in a different way and evaluate things that I made in a certain way, and just trying to make sure everything was as good as I could make it.
That's one of the things I admire about your work. It's so well made and crafted. And I came to your solo show of your personal work a couple of years ago at Brassworks. A mutual friend and art patron, Bob Silver, invited you to show, and he set that up for you.
He did. I've been doing. I mean, I've made things all my life. Pretty much all of it creative. A lot of it I've been asked to make because it's difficult to find other people to make the kind of things that I make. Bob is one of those people. Bob really appreciates craftsmanship and creativity. My goal, as I think with any artist, is really to do truly self-directed work. And when Bob offered me the show, it really gave me. He offered it to me at exactly the right time because I was able to take 4 or 5 months off and really make pieces for the show.
Everybody wants to see some of your work. So, what are 4 or 5, or half a dozen pieces that you kind of describe them, and then we'll look at images of them while you're describing them. So,
the earliest piece that I'm particularly proud of was a piece that I did in college, a forge piece, which I still own. The name of that piece was Babylon Redrawn. The recent piece that I'm most partial to, is actually 2 pieces. The one behind me is Conflagration, which I made in the middle of the pandemic. It resembles to me, flames, and it seemed at the time that the whole world was on fire. Again, I'm really interested in fasteners and stress and looking at how things bend. I have a couple of sculptures where the center of attention really is on the fasteners.
Yeah, there's that piece that hangs on the wall. What do you call that?
The name of that is Reverse Fault.
Yeah, looks like it.
Yeah.
How do you get it up there? Looks like it weighs a ton, but
Well, that was the idea. I'm glad that you appreciated it that way, because that really was a large part of what I was intending.
oh yeah, so
Yeah.
like, I want that piece, but it's like, we're gonna pull my house down. But
Well, there's another piece in the same vein that looks like it's two pieces of I-beam that are
yeah,
it's actually it's lacquered laminated wood.
I think that's what you told. So,
Okay.
so I know you've done a bunch of collaborations with other people, but I like to think that the journey that we're all on as artists is really an exploration into who we are and our own journey into our own truths. So your self-directed work is much more reflective of your soul. So I've got to say it's probably much more rewarding than.
Before you began painting, you talked about doing creative work and having pride in it. Did you at any time feel yourself to be an artist before you began painting?
Always.
The reason that I asked you about your perception of yourself as an artist before doing the painting, the fine art that you're doing now, it's something that I've struggled with I guess since leaving school. I've spent a few years in New York, not not terribly introspective, having a great time. But as I said, I've always made things. I've always been creative, and I've always regarded myself inside as an artist. But I, all right, Mr. Artist, where's your artwork? Where your gallery shows, and it's only recently that I've really come to terms with, yes, it isn't just, you're fine. I don't know. I'm not even sure I know the answer to that question still. I now refer to myself as an artist. That's what I do, and everything else, is now. I'm an artist who also happens to do, commercial forged iron work.
A lot of artists have a day job,
Oh, no, I would say most do. It's yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
But I tell people I have a new career. It just cost me a fortune.
Yeah. Indeed, it's
I never make any money at this. Even if I sell something, it's still my expenses are far.
well, the sculpture behind me is a good example. I mean, I drew it out on paper, sort of. It was not inexpensive to make. It's $3,000 or $4,000 of material and supplies, and with no assurance I'm going to get it back. And it's not like I'm in any position to be able to afford that, but I just had to do it. And unfortunately, I've got a lot of those lying around right now. So
Yeah, you do it because you have to do it.
yeah, I have to do it. It's it's I've got more planned. So,
Let me switch gears for a second.
Sure.
I mean, you also, with your artist eye and macho stuff that you work with, make some amazing photographs. I mean, they're just beautiful. I mean,
thank you.
they're setups and they're, well, okay, self-directed, but you somehow kind of capture the glory of fire and iron and
Sometimes I think all photographers say the same thing. Sometimes they're just lucky. Something will present itself, in front of me, waiting to be photographed. And photographs I'm more interested in doing recently are really, they're more like portraits or studio photographs of objects in my shop. Sometimes in interesting juxtapositions. I haven't done a lot of those. I hope to do. I'm really enjoying doing that, and I'm also thinking I'm 65 years old, and I'm still.
You don't have a day over 85.
Yeah, well, thank you. I feel a day over 85. I'm sort of thinking, you're not going to be able to do this forever since I
Not gonna be able to do the heavy lifting forever, you mean?
Yeah, and actually, I'm recovering now from hernia surgery, so I've been painting a lot, which I've really enjoyed getting back into.
Yeah, brushes. Lifting a brush is not going to exacerbate.
No, that's fine. Yeah. But both of those things are part of my thinking. When I can't work with heavy things, what do I want to do? What do I find satisfying? And both photography and painting, I find very satisfying in very different ways. But I recognize them all as my work, so that somehow they all fit together.
Very cool. So, last question. If in your legacy, how do you want to be described? What do you think somebody might say in a tribute to Charlie Spademan?
I guess simply, I miss him. And I notice, it's sort of a related question. It's always interesting to read obituaries of people that you sort of know, and you discover things about them that you wish that you'd known while they were alive, that you might have perceived them in a different way. That may be an interesting way to be remembered.
So what do you want us to know?
I don't really know. It's I'm stumped on that one.
Well, I just take a shot. Just fantasize a little bit.
To me, being an agnostic is an important part of my life. I regard myself as very spiritual. I've seen things. I think when you speak with people, most people have seen things they cannot explain. I have a friend who used to be able to put a voice in my head, and I didn't recognize it at the time until once I just caught it and realized that she hadn't spoken, but I heard her. Like so many kids are in college, I was very interested in auras. Felt like I could see them for a time. I think that synesthesia and the ability to see auras are related. I think I feel to some extent it's something that is just below the surface with me, and almost something that I can turn on or off. I think the mind works hard to suppress something it views as noise, but I think for me it's there, and back to talking about my agnosticism. I think it's more that I think it's impossible, at least for me, to know. I believe there is something out there, but I believe it's impossible to know what that something is, or even if there is something there. It's
yeah, we're not supposed to know.
we're not supposed to know.
Maybe our mission is to figure out who we are, how we fit into the larger scheme of things, and I share your views.
To me, one of the funniest things that I think that could happen was that I go to hell and realize, my God, they were right. And I would find that hilarious.
Okay, I have a story for you. We were visiting the Sistine Chapel. And Michelangelo certainly did the ceilings, but he also did an altarpiece in the chapel. Back of the chapel is a painted mural on the wall. And it depicts man's ascension to the heavens. So in the middle is purgatory, and then you have these figures kind of becoming angelic.
Mhm.
And others don't quite make it, and they're relegated to that other place. So there was a cardinal who was kind of a bureaucrat while he was painting the ceiling. You know, somebody busting your balls who like, so how you coming? You know, how things coming along? You know? And he was a pain in the ass. You know. So the figure on the lower right of this mural, which is the worst of the worst,
Uh-huh.
is the cardinal's face.
I'm guessing who might be there.
Yeah, so don't mess with the artist because he'll immortalize you not in the way you want to be.
Uh,
Okay, so well, thank you. If folks want to know more about Charlie Spademan, where can they find your work, and where can they find you, and what do you got coming up?
I'm curating an outdoor sculpture garden in Montclair. We have a opening September 9th, I think, which is a Thursday.
Where's that going to be?
It's going to be in Montclair at the corner of Church Street and the Hillside. You know, I'm excited about that. I'm trying to work with one other specific artist to help him create work for it because I can visualize what he might make.
Website?
Well, actually, I'm using at the moment only Instagram as my portfolio.
At
Just my name at Charlie Spademan.
At Charlie Spademan.
Just all one word.
Instagram.
And yeah, it's worked very well for me. In that, pretty much everybody has a phone. Most people have Instagram. It's a simple way to immediately see other people's work. Navigate to see other people's work, or for other people to see yours, or to flip really quickly.
It's been a great tool for artists. So I thank you, and
very, very much a pleasure to spend time with you, Allan.
Okay, and see ya.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please like and comment below, and subscribe to my channel so you'll never miss another episode of Allan Gorman's 15 Minutes of Fame Art TV show.